well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. Say it with me now. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome to Bearing Arms, Cam & Company. My name is Cam Edwards. Hopefully you know that by now, but if this is your first time tuning in, we're glad that you're here. Welcome. Coming up on the program, Culpeper County, Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins is going to join us. You know, it was just a few months ago that Sheriff Jenkins said, listen, if Governor Northam gets his gun ban, his magazine ban, his suppressor ban, otherwise known as House Bill 961, if he gets that passed into law, well, we just might have to deputize armed citizens here in Culpeper County so that their guns don't get taken away. House Bill 961 has not become the law of the land yet, but Sheriff Jenkins is already taking the first steps, again, towards deputizing perhaps thousands of armed citizens there in Culpeper County. We'll talk about that with him in just a moment or two. We also have some other Virginia-related news to get to, but before we get to that, President Trump has a huge announcement for his top supporters. He'll be celebrating the 2020 Republican National Convention this summer, and he wants you to enter for your chance to join him at the convention. If you win, his team will pick up the flight, hotel, and give you VIP passes for yourself and a guest. All you have to do is text ARMS to 88022 today for your chance to meet President Trump at the convention. Again, that is ARMS to 88022 to enter to win this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be his special guest. Now, I did have somebody write in and say, listen, I don't have a cell phone. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, but he doesn't have a cell phone. Is there anything I can do? For the moment, and I'm inquiring about that, but for the moment, I will tell you the best thing to do, in my opinion, borrow somebody else's cell phone. Text ARMS to 88022, and if they win, then you say, hey, oh, by the way, that was me, and you can be my special guest because I used your phone to text there. 88022 ARMS. That is what you need to text. Paid for by Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated. All right, let's get to our a big topic today. We are going to, I feel kind of weird because I live in the state of Virginia, so I don't want you to think that I'm just, paying close attention to what's going on right at home and I'm not paying attention to anything else going on in the world. That's not the case. But Virginia really was ground zero for the Second Amendment sanctuary movement. It was ground zero for gun control earlier this year, and now Senator Tim Kaine and Senator Mark Warner, both of Virginia, well, they want to do to the country what Democrats did to the state earlier this year. They've introduced legislation to reform federal firearms laws. They're calling it the Virginia Plan to Reduce Gun Violence Act of 2020. And what this would do would impose all kinds of the same types of restrictions that Democrats imposed on Virginia gun owners earlier this year. So a federal universal background check law, for example, a federal one gun a month law, for example, a federal red flag law, for example. Yeah. Again, all of these measures aimed at legal law-abiding gun owners at a time, by the way, when gun sales are at historically high levels, when violent crime is soaring in cities around the country, not because of legal gun owners, but because of a lack of consequences for these violent criminals. And this is where Senator Kaine and Senator Warner, this is where they're looking. They're not looking to crack down on violent criminals. They're not looking to go after the violent felons who are committing homicides, carjackings, armed robberies in our cities. No, they're looking at you and me and our firearms that will never be used in the commission of a violent crime. They're looking at law-abiding gun owners who are exercising their constitutional rights, and they're saying that's where the problem is. That's what we have to address. Now, given the makeup of the Senate, I don't think that this bill is going to go anywhere. However, if Joe Biden were to win in November, we're already hearing talk that they would get rid of the Senate filibuster, so then you wouldn't need 60 votes to get legislation through. A simple majority of 51 senators would be enough to impose these types of restrictions nationwide. Now, I can tell you, in the state of Virginia, the fight against these measures continues, both in court and in the legislature and in the Second Amendment sanctuary communities. I mentioned House Bill 961 just a couple of minutes ago. That was the one bill that Governor Ralph Northam didn't get through this past legislative session. It was the centerpiece of his gun control campaign. It would ban semi-automatic rifles. It would ban, and pistols, some pistols too, I should say, ban quote-unquote large capacity magazines, which, by the way, is an arbitrary term. It means nothing And a matter of fact, in the state of Virginia, during the legislative fight over House Bill 961, the definition of a large capacity magazine changed several times. It got bigger as Democrats tried to peel off opposition and get support for their measures. Unfortunately for them, they were unable to do so. Fortunately for gun owners, that happened. 4 Democrat state senators said no to this bill, but it could be coming up in a special session next month in Virginia. In fact, what I'm hearing is that at least one of those senators who said no to Governor Northam's gun ban, magazine ban, suppressor ban, is now circulating language of his own. So if you are a Virginia gun owner, you do need to be in contact with your state delegate, with your state senator right now, because I think this is coming. And Sheriff Scott Jenkins, well, he's getting ready as well. Months ago, he said that he would deputize thousands of residents if need be, turn them into a reserve deputy so that this gun ban doesn't apply to them. And now he is taking the first step in that direction. Sheriff Jenkins joined me on the program to talk about what he's doing and how it might play out there in Culpeper County, whether or not other counties around the state might do the same. Take a look and a listen. Sheriff, thanks for coming to the program, sir. It's great talking with you today.
Glad to be with you.
Well, listen, we've got a special session coming up here in just a few weeks in the state of Virginia. There's a lot of talk that House Bill 961, Governor Northam's gun ban, magazine ban, suppressor ban is going to come back up for a vote. And I noted with great interest yesterday something that your office is doing. You all are now looking for volunteer background investigators, right?
Correct.
Are these two items related in any way, Sheriff?
Well, they certainly are. Just continuation of what I said I would do back in December of 2019. You know, if those bills are passed to ban high-cap mags, so-called assault weapons and so forth that appear to be pretty clearly unconstitutional, and without going into too much detail with that, yes, we have to prepare for that. So now's the time to screen and properly, do the backgrounds and hire the right people that will then be screening those potential new deputies in the future. So we're looking for retired or current law enforcement officers willing to volunteer their time to serve as background investigators in the future after the next session if those weapon bans are passed.
Do they need to be residents of Culpeper County, or can they be from adjoining counties or other parts of the state?
No, there's no restriction. Just like the future reserve deputies that might want to apply for that status, the background investigators the same way. We can have deputies work residents of any county in the state. The background investigators, I've had contact from people of agencies as far north as Fairfax and south and east of us, Fredericksburg and other areas. People who work for the federal agencies as well that are willing to jump in and help out. A lot of true patriots that see this as a very strong attack on the Second Amendment, and they're willing to jump in and give up their time to help us properly screen and get the work done quickly when what I imagine will be thousands of applications come in if it's passed in the next session.
I imagine you're right. And the fact that, again, you've already had such a strong response from current and former law enforcement saying, yeah, I'm ready to help. I mean, that to me is just another indication of how unpopular these proposals and frankly, these new gun control laws are in much of the state of Virginia. It might have, the backing of folks in Northern Virginia, maybe in the Richmond area and some of the bigger cities, but throughout most of the state, I think that Virginians are flat out opposed to what the state legislature's been doing here and what the governor's been up to.
That's exactly right. Well, nationally, across the nation, you have those urban areas that, and Democrat, liberal strongholds, but the rest of the country, by and large, is like Virginia. Our greatest portion of our state, of our country, understand the need and don't need to go into deep detail with that, but understanding that, you got a lot of people who feel very strongly and are willing to pitch in, and that's in every way possible. We have people, thousands across the country, across the state, willing to donate money as well as time to make sure that this process goes forward correctly, because it could serve as a clear model for other states when the same kind of attacks come up with place in other states.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I just mentioned on the program a couple of minutes ago that Senator Tim Kaine and Senator Mark Warner have introduced federal legislation called the Virginia Plan to Fight Gun Violence Act of 2020 or something like that, calling for, federal universal background checks, federal red flag laws, a federal 1 gun a month laws, basically everything that passed in the state of Virginia, they now want to replicate at the federal level. So, even if you live in, someplace like Utah or something, you think, I'm safe, this is never going to happen here. Don't be so sure about that. But I did want to ask you, you said that not only are these volunteer background investigators able to come in from outside of Culpeper County, but if it gets to this point where you're, swearing in reserve deputies, those deputies will not have to live in Culpeper County either. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct. I've said from the beginning, I'll reiterate just so everyone's clear, because I want my citizens that elected me and put me in office and those that I'm sworn to serve to understand they are obviously my priority. So first comes, we will screen and try to work through. For example, we have over 5,000 to 6,000 concealed carry holders in the county. So those will be our first ones we'll dive into that have applied, and at that point want to screen those and get them on board covered as soon as we can, and then the remainder of any other residents as well, which I imagine will be thousands. Once we've taken care of our own community, its citizens, then we'll take on the task of others from outside Culpeper, which that can be enormous from what I understand. We're looking at, which is fine. We're committed to it in the long haul, but people outside of Culpeper residents would have to understand it's going to take a bit longer for them. Now, how they go about preparing for that, if there's gun ban planned and when it takes effect, well, I just suggest that they think about the law and come up with their own plan, and we will work through them as rapidly as we can. And I say all that, I know that the absolute governor and his cronies that are trying to pass this, but they need to know that a fight's coming to push back legally, properly. I have that authority as a sheriff, and I hope Senator Warner understands. I pray that Daniel Gage gets elected and takes that seat, but God forbid he stays in. And they try this at the federal level. I hope the rest of the country, which I know some sheriffs are listening, we need one sheriff in each state willing to do what I'm doing here, and we can certainly push back on it at the national level as well. And they should know that that's coming. There's a lot of sheriffs that feel as I do across the nation. I'm not alone. I happen to be the only voice speaking loudly at this point, but there's a lot of others quietly watching and are willing to step up at the right time.
I was going to say, and I have to say, first of all, as a resident of not Culpeper County, Virginia, I'm glad to know that I'm still eligible. I might not be first in line, but I'm glad to know I'm at least still eligible. Hopefully you don't have any beard requirements for your reserve deputies, but I'm willing to give it a trim if need be. But have you heard from other sheriffs around the state of Virginia or around the country who may not have said anything publicly, but they're asking, all right, what are you doing here, Sheriff? And, how do I do something like this?
Oh, absolutely. I've talked to a number of them. I won't say their names, but many, many others that are interested and are looking, doing their own research on how to go about it similarly in their state and their counties. And, that I'll just say there's others here in Virginia who want are interested in doing something similar, but just aren't ready to make that step at this point. But I hope, and that's the key. We want to do this right. We've been very methodical looking at all the ins and outs of what to do to safeguard this program we're going to implement and the risks that it runs. And it's naturally going to have their attackers, but we're talking about good citizens currently owning guns that suddenly will be outlawed in the months to come. And it doesn't mean that their behavior day to day having those weapons at home is going to change. You're not going to suddenly become more dangerous. As for them taking an oath, having an ID, a badge, and so forth, they're not going to be out on the street riding in patrol cars, making arrests, traffic stops, and that's not the intent, never has been. And to the people who are absurd in what they're trying to accuse or say about the risks and so on, I just say, take a deep breath, first check yourself and realize you're not the sheriff I am. If you want to be sheriff, run for election. I'm not a fool and understand clearly the risks that are involved and the seriousness of what we're going to do. And we're going to make it crystal clear to anyone that takes that oath and takes that opportunity that there are extreme limitations as to when they would be called up, if ever need be, for the use of them, their weapons, and so forth that they're going to provide at their own expense. They may never be called up, but they will certainly volunteer their time, perform duties, if they will, as a reserve deputy and others tasks throughout the year. going forward as policy will dictate. And no, the citizen can rest easy that the day uniformed and armed doing law enforcement will be responsible instead. They won't be suddenly assisted by some plainclothes militia or whatever the names they like to tag onto these groups. It's really absurd, but that, they have to attack something. They have nothing else to attack in my logical approach to this because they're angered. The governor, everyone's been angered at the fact that I've never said I won't enforce the laws they pass. A lot of other sheriffs have, and I'm that one guy who has said, no, I'm just going to use the authority I have. You use yours, and I'm going to use mine. And it infuriates them that I have a logical, legal approach to circumvent what they're trying to do in violating their constitutional rights.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I know that the intent is not to infuriate. The intent is to protect those rights. And I appreciate everything that you're doing. I frankly, I wish the governor and, some of these Democrats in Richmond would actually reach out to you, would talk to you, would get another perspective here. But I know they're not interested in that.
Well, it's funny you say that because today, as we speak, in about 15 minutes, the governor will be in Culpeper County visiting lawfully for whatever purpose. My phone's not rang, but I will say that once again to him. It's not personal. If he or any of his staff or anyone in the legislature ever wants to talk and have a rational conversation and really focus down on the issues, I think there are some things we can talk about that would, I think, be easier for them to approach in what they're trying to do. Now, I'm not saying to ever give an inch when it comes to the fact that we do have enough gun laws on the books. There's plenty of restrictions there. But I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'm just saying that, they're just so much in the obstructionist column. They don't want to sit down and have those conversations. And really, all they're doing is waiting now to see what happens in November. The president's reelected. I have a feeling you're going to see a whole lot of guys in the legislature backpedaling in the next session and not wanting to pass that ban. And if he were to be defeated, then they're going to be full steam ahead, and there's definitely going to be a need for this program.
I think that's right. Listen, Sheriff, again, I appreciate you joining me today. Appreciate everything you do, and look forward to talking to you again here in the very near future, sir.
Thank you. It's good talking to you, Cam.
Appreciate the sheriff spending some time with us today, and I imagine we'll be talking quite a bit with the sheriff in the weeks and months ahead. Before we get to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day, and our recidivist report, another reminder, President Trump with a huge announcement for his top supporters. He'll be celebrating the 2020 Republican National Convention this summer, and he wants you to enter for your chance to join him at the convention. If you win, his team will cover the flight, hotel, and give you VIP passes for yourself and a guest. All you have to do is text ARMS to 88022 today for your chance to meet President Trump at the convention. Again, that is ARMS, as in bearing arms, ARMS to 88022 to enter to win this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be his special guest, paid for by Donald J. Trump for President Incorporated. Okay, so on to today's Armed Citizen story, our good deed of the day. We're going to start with our recidivist report, and we will start there. WLWT with the story of a truck driver accused of kidnapping his wife, leading police on a lengthy chase down the interstate. Patrick Berthelow of Bessemer, Alabama, is charged with kidnapping. Prosecutors say additional charges are likely. Police say it was Saturday afternoon, just after about 12:30, when troopers from the Hamilton Post of the Ohio State Patrol got a call about a commercial truck that was driving recklessly down I-75. Troopers located that vehicle, tried to conduct a traffic stop, then a pursuit ensued. During the chase, someone inside that semi called 911. Berthelow's wife could be heard screaming for help, saying, "He won't let me out." That call ended up lasting for over 2 hours. Berthelow accusing his wife of cheating, at one point telling a dispatcher, quote, "The problem is this. I'm facing 20 years in prison, and I'm not going to go down without a fight. The police are going to have to kill me. This is a plan called suicide by cop. This is my plan, okay? And I've been waiting for this." Well, at some point, Berthelow released his wife, actually disconnected the trailer from the semi rig and kept going. According to WLWT, a member of Cincinnati's SWAT team eventually shot the engine block on the semi, which forced Berthelow to stop. He was taken into custody, and authorities say that he has a lengthy criminal history dating back to 2003 with charges ranging from rape and burglary to attempted murder. Yeah. Kind of makes you wonder why this guy was out on the street to begin with. Court records show about 10 years ago he was arrested for shooting a woman during a domestic dispute. But they say that some of the most serious charges in that case were amended to lower charges. And Bertha Lowe presumably took a plea bargain as a result. Authorities say that he also has a criminal record in Louisiana and Georgia. And now, again, facing some pretty serious charges in the state of Ohio. Our armed citizens story today from the Lone Star State of Texas. Yeah, this is an attention-grabbing headline. Naked man shot by woman after walking uninvited into a Port Arthur apartment. No arrest made. The suspect is expected to survive his injuries, according to the DA there in Jefferson County, Texas. This from 12 News Now. They say it was about 1 o'clock Monday afternoon. Authorities got a call about a shooting at the Avery Trace Apartments. When they arrived, they found a man with a gunshot wound in his, quote, lower extremities. Investigators say the man knocked on the woman's door, then entered without permission, and that's when police say that she shot him. No word yet on whether or not she actually knew this subject, if this was just a strange naked man that walked into her apartment, but she's not facing any charges. He'll be facing some charges. His injury is considered to be non-life-threatening, taken to a local hospital for treatment, but I'm guessing before long he will be, well, I was going to say before long he'll be in court, but given the coronavirus-related court closures, let me just amend that to at some point he'll be in court facing some charges. Finally today, our good deed of the day from Salon, Ohio, where a officer's been recognized by the local chief of police and the city council for going above and beyond to help a young man replace a stolen bicycle. Patrolman William DiGiovanni has been an officer in Salon, Ohio since 2002. The Cleveland Plain Dealer says that the officer has had a reputation over the years of helping out those in need, especially young people. And on Monday this week, several city council members in the Ohio town praising DiGiovanni for his efforts to assist a man whose bicycle had been stolen. The 18-year-old reported that his bike had been taken on July 13th. It was Officer DiGiovanni who responded to the report and learned that the teenager actually used that bike to get to and from work. According to Police Chief Richard Tonelli, DiGiovanni, being the compassionate person that he is, quote, put something out on social media to see if anybody had a bike that they could donate. Chief said that his plan was if a bike could not be found to donate, then he would purchase the bike himself. Well, a resident actually contacted the police department and said, yeah, I have a bike that I'd like to donate to this young man. So Officer DiGiovanni got in touch with the family who wanted to donate the bike, picked it up, gave it to the young man. Chief Tonelli says the young man was, quote, overjoyed. Says, I imagine it might have been a better one than the one that was stolen, but I don't know for sure as I didn't see it. Said it was a feel-good story all around. Bill Russo is a city council member there in Salon, Ohio. He says, I think this is one of the things that we recognize that our officers do on an ongoing basis. All of our safety forces make sure that they do what they can to serve our residents, and in certain situations, they go above and beyond. Amen. One other note, another city council member, Jeremy Zelwin, says he actually learned that there were so many offers from residents to donate bicycles so the young man could get back on his feet that the department actually had to pick and choose which one they were going to take. He said the whole city really came together to help out this young man. Thank you to the police force and the resident who donated the bicycle. So in the right place at the right time, willing and able to do the right thing, Officer DiGiovanni in Salon, Ohio, as well as that anonymous Good Samaritan, making sure that 18-year-old does have transportation to and from work. We thank you both for your very good deeds. That is going to do it for this edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company. I want to thank you for being a part of the program as always. Don't forget, you can subscribe to Town Hall Media. That way you never miss a program. If you like to see the smiling face, check out the beard, see if it's got any bigger over the last couple of days. If you just want the audio version, I get it. I understand. Well, we make it easy for you to do that too. You go to Apple Podcasts, Bearing Arms Cam & Company, or any of the other fine podcast platforms. That's where you'll find us. We will be back tomorrow with more of the latest Second Amendment news and information. But in the meantime, be well, be safe, be free, and we'll see you soon with another edition of Bearing Arms Cam & Company.